Everybody, welcome back to another outstanding episode of Q-Tips. We are the Video Store Junkies, and we're here to bring you a few selections to watch over the weekend on streaming. And we're going to get this going, and I'll kick it over to Bill.
Hey, thanks. So my theme is historical films. And the first one, and this is a pretty popular one, but I think really kind of underrated, even though it made a ton of money and even got a sequel. It's 2007's 300, currently playing on HBO Max. And, I mean, at this point, it's actually entered pretty much the zeitgeist, you know. This is Sparta, and the whole visual look of it. It's filmed in that strange chroma key technique that looks like a comic book, and it's based on Frank Miller and Lynn Varley's great comic book of the same name. It literally looks like they just found some live actors and put them into the frames. Which is great, because Frank Miller's a terrific storyteller, and there's no reason, you know, it's like when they made Watchmen. It's like you could have you had the storyboards already. There it is. Just film it if you can. And they pretty much did. And what people don't seem to get about this movie, they say, you know, it's wildly unrealistic. It's about the Battle of Thermopylae, where 300 Spartans, and although they don't never mention this, about 2,000 other Greeks tried to hold off an army of anywhere from 100,000 to a couple million, accounts vary, Persians who were invading. And because they had a very narrow strait, they were able to do a pretty good job, because, you know, you can only attack one at a time, and hell, they were Spartans. So they held them off for 3 days. And it's a great story. It's just a ripping, true action thing. The movie is so stylized. You know, they fight giants and armored rhinoceros, which I do not believe have ever actually been used by any army ever. The Persians are portrayed as monstrous, and the Greeks are portrayed as incredible heroes who totally break formation, which they would never do. And it's in slow motion, fast motion, all kinds of motion. It's totally over the top. And people were criticizing the movie for that, not understanding this is a tale being told by one of the survivors. And he's telling this like around a campfire as they're about to go to war again. Of course it's over the top. Of course the wolves are bigger than any wolves ever were. Of course the elephants make mastodons look like Shetland ponies. This is how you describe things. And from that thing, it's a rollicking good time. Just really, really super. Don't take it super seriously. For God's sakes, don't use as your cliff notes for your Greek mythology class or something. But it's a lot of fun. And they waited a really long time before they came out with the sequel, and that didn't do as well. They did the exact same thing with Frank Miller's other weird-looking Sin City, which was fantastic. And by the time they came out with the sequel, everyone had forgotten about it. Avatar who? I mean, I don't know. I don't know where this thing about not striking while the iron's hot. So I wouldn't bet against James Cameron, because that's a good way to lose money. But so is spending $1 billion to make a sequel to a movie that came out a long, long time ago. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, that's 300 on HBO Max, and I throw this right to Zach.
Thanks, Bill. Well, you know, I recommend a lot of old shows on this podcast because, you know, I go back. One of the great things about streaming, you can go back and revisit all of your favorites, and you can kind of, relive some of your favorite TV moments. And my first recommendation is actually kind of a play on that, because it's about what happens when you go back and try to recapture the magic from a classic TV show. The name of the show, appropriately enough, is Reboot, and it is about an attempted reboot in present day of a 2000s sitcom, which I do not remember the name of the show right offhand that it's supposed to be rebooting, but it's something like really inane, just like a 2000s sitcom would be. This show is it's got a great cast. I mean, that's what it's really well written, but I mean the cast. Let me just read off some of the key actors here. You got speaking of key actors, Keegan-Michael Key is one of the main characters. You also got Judy Greer. You got Paul Reiser. You got even Johnny Knoxville, who, you know, I don't know. I've never Johnny Knoxville's not a go-to guy for me when it comes to good performances, but He does play. He plays an actor that he's a little washed up, and he's had some issues with substances, etc. So I think he's basically just playing himself. So yeah, this show it's really hilarious. It's again, it's got a great cast. It's a very funny kind of twist on the idea of rebooting these shows. In fact, it's kind of meta because it is on Hulu, which is where you can watch it, but it's also about Hulu rebooting a show from the 2000s. So it's got a little bit of a little commentary, a little wink at the audience there. And the last thing I will mention, Renee, did you watch The Act, which I recommended a few weeks ago?
No,
you didn't. Okay. I thought maybe you had for some reason. I think you made a comment, but my recommendation, if you're going to watch Reboot, it's a hilarious show. The Act, which I had previously recommended, is definitely not a hilarious show. But I wanted to kind of comment on one of the actors in both of these shows, Callum Worthy. It is really weird because he actually plays a very, very similar character in both shows. But in Reboot, he plays it for laughs. Like there are a lot of jokes around this character, and in The Act, it's almost a very insidious character. So yeah, I don't want to give too much away, but I'm gonna recommend a very weird pairing of The Act, and then so you watch that first, and then you watch Reboot, and the whole time, all you'll be able to think about is his character from The Act. So anyways, speaking of things that are subtly insidious, Renee, what do you have for your first pick this week?
Oh my gosh. So, no, I have not seen that show, but I was very familiar with the story, which is like horrifying. Anyway.
Oh god.
Yeah. So, speaking of things that are horrifying, my first recommendation. This story is based on is based on a Stephen King novel. And it is about a group of friends that go on a camping trip. And they struggle with a group of parasitic aliens. This movie is called Dreamcatcher, and you can watch it on Tubi. It stars Thomas Jane, Jason Lee, Damian Lewis, and Timothy Olyphant, and this movie's really good. The first hour of this movie is so good. And the other half is good too, but the first hour of this movie is so good. Anyway, Dreamcatcher, I don't really have a lot to say about it. It's interesting. It also has Morgan Freeman and Tom Sizemore. It's just a good movie. I remember seeing this in the movie theater, and I liked it. It's good. You should watch it. So I'll pass this back over to Bill.
Okay, thank you. So my second movie is listen. Here's the story. Okay, the Battle of Thermopylae was a great, great story and deserved to be made to a movie. But here's another one. Way back in the days, according to the Athenian historian Xenophon, big fan of his work, a bunch of Greek mercenaries went to work, I think, for the Persians. It was a complicated time. And they were just hired out to help them because they were obviously good fighters. The Persians knew they could fight. So they went to fight for this Persian prince, and there was this massive battle. And they won their part of the battle. Unfortunately, the guy who hired them lost his part of the battle and was killed. So these 10,000 Greek warriors are thinking, we're going to get paid, everything's great, and they're marching along, and then they realize they couldn't find anyone else in the army because the army was gone. No one knew what to do. The enemy marched by these 10,000 guys, and they both were looking at each other like, okay, I guess they're with us. I don't recognize them, but all right, whatever. And then they realized what was going on. So the Persians said, well, listen, send some of your best guys over. We'll negotiate some way to get you all home. And they believed that. They went over there. They all got slaughtered. So the 10,000 guys who were left decided, screw this noise. We're going home. And they marched all the way to the sea, fighting armies one after another. It was the March of the 10,000. Absolutely amazing. These guys, just beat everyone sent against them, against all odds, made it home. In 1979, a movie came out from the great Walter Hill, who's just done an amazing bunch of stuff, and it is The Warriors. It is not set in ancient Greece. There are no Persians here. It's about a group, a gang, the Warriors, who get together with a bunch of other gangs and listen to this very charismatic guy basically say, hey, we outnumber the cops 10-1, we could take over this town. And then there's an assassination, the Warriors are blamed, and they have got to fight their way back to their turf in New York City with every other gang coming at them. And this isn't just the Crips and the Bloods. These are the kind of gangs of mythology who dress up in wacky costumes like clowns or baseball players or whatever. And it's awesome, man. It's just one thing after another as these guys are just fighting their way back in this pro wrestling cartoon gangs that don't exist in real life. And we've all seen gangs. They don't... Yeah, but this was fun. And it's a good movie. Walter Hill just doesn't get enough credit. He's the guy who almost directed Alien, but then wisely decided to let someone else do it. If you look at the people who were going to direct Alien, boy, did we just dodge one bullet after another. Hill would have been fine, but some of the ones that they were going to put there instead, like I think it was the guy who did Krull, almost did Alien. Yeah. Yep.
Didn't he get? Not to get totally off topic, but is that
No,
was it part of his deal for not directing Alien? Did he actually do any work on it, or is that the reason that he gets credited on every Alien movie now? Did he step?
No, I think he was a producer. He was one of the guys that nurtured the project along.
Gotcha. Okay.
And got Dan O'Bannon thought he was going to direct, and they probably would have let him direct for $1 million. Yeah, they would have given him no budget whatsoever. It would have been Dark Star 2, which is how he originally imagined it. Actually, what if Dark Star wasn't a comedy? Okay, but it all worked out for the best. It's kind of a miracle that it worked out as well as it did. But yeah, Walter Hill's just some great stuff. Streets of Fire, for a movie that bombed horribly, is so influential. I mean, I watched some anime movies, and you're like, these guys watch Streets of Fire a lot. You just get that feeling. Most of his movies feel like westerns, even if they're not set in the West at all.
Yeah.
Definitely The Warriors is one of those. So if he's a filmmaker that if you're not familiar with his work, check it out. I believe he's still alive, and I think he's still doing stuff, but he's got to be older than dirt now.
I thought he retired. I thought it's been a good 20 years since he made a movie, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, you're probably right. It's sad, but hey, time marches on. But anyway, yeah, The Warriors, a lot of fun. Boy, when that movie came out, I'm just telling you, you could not walk anywhere without somebody, Warriors, come out and play. And if you see the movie, you'll say it too, and nobody will know what you're talking about. They'll think you're drunk or feeble. And let me toss this back to our own special warrior, Zach.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I thought you were going to say, speaking of dumb or feeble. No, actually, I take it back. He has a movie that he's credited on last year. So I guess.
Oh, wow.
And it actually has Willem Dafoe in it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
I guess he's still working with him. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So if there's one thing you guys probably know about me, it's that I love to learn things. I just love learning. I love to learn how to do things, which luckily for me, there's a filmmaker named John Wilson who is more than happy to teach me how to do things with his appropriately named television series, How To with John Wilson. And John Wilson doesn't just teach you how to do basic normal things. He has a wide variety of things that he can teach you how to do. Let me just give you a quick sampling of some of the episode titles from the 2 seasons of his show. You've got How to Make Small Talk, How to Put Up Scaffolding, How to Split the Check, How to Throw Out Your Batteries, and How to Invest in Real Estate. Yes, all these and more are things that John Wilson can teach you in the 2 seasons of his show. It's on HBO Max, and it is it's a really brilliant show. I would love to understand his process. So basically, he narrates. He's narrating the entire episode, but I'm convinced that he just goes out and shoots hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of footage just around New York City, and then narrates to the footage how he organizes the footage and finds what he wants. I have no idea, but I just say that because he has so many great moments of just things that could only happen in New York, but obviously are not planned or staged. And I don't know. It's just really funny. It's a hilarious show. I love it. I believe a producer, executively producer, whatever, by Nathan Fielder, who I've talked about a couple times, loving his stuff. This is another kind of brand of like kind of weird, funny, off kilter comedy. So if you're into that sort of thing, How To with John Wilson, 2 seasons on HBO Max. Check it out. You'll learn a lot, and I sure did. And speaking of things that are off kilter and hilarious, Renee, what's your second pick?
So this weekend, I went over to my parents' house, and my dad was out of town. So, it was Sunday. Typically, it's football on Sunday, but dad wasn't home. So I was sitting there flipping the channels with mom, and we landed on this old movie. They used the song The New Karaoke, which was featured in another movie that I had just watched recently. This is really not the kind of movie that I would typically recommend, but I actually found this movie to be kind of charming and funnier than I thought it would be. It is a musical. It is a comedy. And it is called Flying Down to Rio. It is from 1933. It has Dolores Del Rio, a couple of other characters, Raul Rulian, forgive me, I'm probably saying that wrong, Gene Raymond, and it was the very first on-screen appearance of Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers.
Oh.
So, yeah. So, it was actually pretty cute. It's basically about this band leader that finds love and success in Brazil. So, yeah, it was very cute. There's some goofy, just funny, goofy scenes that are just silly. And, yeah, I enjoyed it. It was cute. Now, I will tell you, it was on, like, TV. It was, like, streaming over the air. But I did find it on archive.org. So,
There you go.
yeah, so you could watch it on TV or on archive.org. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Vanessa Del Rio, and most of her stuff doesn't get on TV. So, oh wait, Dolores Del Rio. Never mind.
Oh boy, I feel like
Yeah.
I feel like that's a very specific type of actress, and we all know what she does.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. There's some people who found that joke funny, but they're not the kind of people you really want to know.
So Paul's not here.
No. So there's no one to sing us off or Rick roll us or start doing Shrek or.
God, I got nothing.
I was gonna say usually we go to you next.
Oh, don't look at me. I've got dignity.
You've got. Oh, all right. Well, that's it. Thank you. Good night. I'll come up with a better ending.
We could write an original song.
Yeah.
Theme to the Warriors. Warriors! Oh, look at the Warriors! Want to come out and play Warriors? That's all I got. Anyways.
That's
Give
perfect.
me a C, a bouncy C. Yeah.
It was giving me Dream Warrior flashbacks.
I was about to say we could combine Dreamcatcher and the Warriors and just play us out of Dream Warriors.
Oh my God.
Make her, and then I'll put it to the
Perfect.
the theme of the Enterprise.
Perfect. Which apparently I don't know. Renee, what was the second movie? Sorry, I didn't.
Oh no, that's okay. It was called Flying Down to Rio.
Flying down. Okay.
There's this really goofy scene where they've got like all these ladies. There's a lot of lady dancers around, so little eye candy for the boys. But it's
For
so
the
funny because they
boys.
do this thing where they're like for the boys. They like strap these girls on this these biplanes, to do like air tricks and stuff, and it is so freaking funny.
They probably like that was if they in fact they actually did that for the movie?
It was pre-code.
Well, I was gonna say,
but I don't think
back
so.
in the day with no special effects, they probably actually killed multiple dancing girls just to get some of those shots.
Yeah.
But
Well, yeah, it's like when they had to have tripwire for the horses. And there's going to be some collateral damage.
Renee,
Oh, wow. Yeah, killing dancing girls goes without a comment, but a reference to horses. Oh, no.
I know it's terrible.
Yeah, but-
I'm
Yeah.
always that person where I'm like, is the dog?
yeah, the dancing
In fairness,
girls knew what they were in for. I mean,
And compared to dancing girls, horses can generally count. At least up to 10.
got him.
For the weekend of December 9th, Bill recommended 300, available on HBO Max, and The Warriors, available on Paramount Plus and Epix. I recommended Dreamcatcher, available on Tubi, and Flying Down to Rio on Archive.com. Zachary recommended Reboot on Hulu and How To with John Wilson, available on HBO Max.